Good evening and welcome to another edition of Capital Market live on Channels Television. It's the Christmas edition, I would say, where the market speaks and we analyze, and sure enough, you get a sense of how your investments are fared, especially this Christmas holiday. I am Will Ibong. Let's begin with European markets now, which closed mixed on Wednesday as investors took stock of the volatile year during Christmas Eve's shortened trading session. The benchmark reached a new record closing high on Tuesday, and this was boosted by Copenhagen listed Novo Nordisk's booming share price after it gained FDA approval for the first ever GLP-1 pill. Now the DAX, we saw it in the green at a obviously in the red 0.23%, and now we see the FTSE also in the red in the green 0.19%, and the CAC 40 in the red there, unchanged but in the red. But let's look at what's happening in Asia markets. It traded higher on Friday with several exchanges in the region closed for Boxing Day holiday, while precious metals continued their rally for the year. And Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225, we see that rising 0.68%. We also see the Shanghai index in China up 0.1%, and the Hang Seng index in China is also up 0.17%. That's positive close for the index. And now core consumer prices in Tokyo, that rose 2.3% in December from a year earlier, and that's according to government data on Friday. The core CPI, which strips out volatile fresh food costs, remained above the Bank of Japan's 2% target, reinforcing the case for more interest rate hikes. Let's see what happened in the U.S. Before the holidays. We see the Dow Jones down, unfortunately, 0.04%, and S&P 500, that one reached a new high on Friday and posted weekly gains as traders came back from the Christmas holiday. And the S&P 500 fell 0.03% that day to close at 6,929 points, and the NASDAQ Composite, I mentioned, as 0.09% down to close at 23,593 points. Now the Dow Jones Industrial Average, I did mention, finished at 0.04% lower. Now for the week, the S&P 500 gained 1.4%, and that notched its fourth weekly advance in 5 weeks. The Dow and the NASDAQ were also up more than 1% week to date. Now, investors are also in a historically strong seasonal period as they await a potential Santa Claus rally. Nigeria is already experiencing that, I hope. Now, the surge occurs between the last 5 trading days of the year and the first 2 of the new year. Let's hope that is sustained in Nigeria. Now, let's come home to Nigeria and see the NASD. That's the unlisted securities market, which closed the week lower as the index was down by 0.61% and to settle at 3,540 points. Market cap stood at 2.12 trillion naira. And we also see trading activity was mixed. Volume was down 75.7%, about 13.5 million units. Value was up 49.59% to 739.363 million naira. And now we see total deals closed negative at 71 trades. That was down 56.44%. Now on the price performance, we see capital, golden capital, closed 9 naira, closed at 9 naira 29 kobo, up 20.96%. MRS Oil PLC, 216 naira 59 kobo, that was up 10%, and NASD PLC was up 9% to close at 60 naira. And losers were led by Capital Bank or PLC, and that was down 7.91%. And we see also Friesland Campina Wamco on that list, also down 5%, close at 51 naira 30 kobo. Central Securities Clearing System also down to close at 32 naira 55 kobo. Now, the activity chart, we see the most traded securities for the week were Joe Fluids PLC, Friesland Campina Wamco Nigeria, and Central Securities Clearing System. Let's check in with the NGX to see how they performed the holiday shortened week. Now, for the 3 trading days for this week, the federal government declared Thursday and Friday, 25th and 26th as public holidays to celebrate Christmas. Now, the NGX, however, closed on a positive note as the all-share index rose by 0.97% to settle at 153,539 points, and market cap also surging there nearly 1% to close at 97.89 trillion naira. Now, in terms of activity, investors, we saw the exchange of about 2.87 billion units of shares. Now, that's a red close on volume. Also, value was also in the red, down to 63.83 billion naira, and deals stood at 80,229. The performance in sectors was mostly positive. We saw banking index was up 2.93%. Consumer goods was also up. We saw that up 3.34%. Industrial goods was also up 1.17%. But on the flip side, insurance stocks, that closed down 2.13%. That was lower by that, while oil and gas index was left unchanged. Now, top gainers for the week included aluminum extrusion industry, that's Alex, closing at 16.35 kobo. That was up 32.39% for the week. And for the losers, we see the heaviest declines coming from Legend Internet PLC. That was down 11.71% for the week to close at 4.90 kobo. While Abe Mortgage Bank and VFD Group PLC, Custodian Investment PLC, that led the activity charts as the most traded stocks for the week. And now we're going to be talking to Ambrose, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. Is going to be giving us a few highlights and a breakdown as to how the NGX fared in 2025. But before that, Ambrose, let me just say welcome to the show, and it's good to have you join us from our Abuja studio.
Thanks for having me.
Just a few highlights before we kick off here. Let's just check some of the milestones we hit in 2025. At the start, we started the year strong, above the 100,000 level. In May, we still see that weekly high. We're still bouncing off there, even though it was a bit slow. And then we did cross on May 27. We did cross that 111,000 threshold there. Very massive jump. And then July 10th, we crossed the largest single day gain recorded, and that was the ASI settled at 124,447. And July the 18th, we saw that break above, that we broke above the 130,000 mark there. And October the 24th, we had the highest level yet. That's the peak of the year, 155,645. And December the 24th, as of December 24th, the eve before Christmas, we had 153,000 after a lot of volatility, ups and downs in the NGX. We were able to climb back to 153,540. That's the peak for the year end. Ambrose, just looking at those highlights and the milestones hit by the NGX, we started already above 100,000 points that I mentioned, and that continuation of the rally from 2024, what were the key macro drivers that you would say helped sustain this momentum into 2025?
Yeah, I would say that 2025 was a bullish year for Nigeria market, and investors are also responding to the banks. I would say that. Well, if you look at the trend in Nigeria market, for the past 5 years, we have seen the market in green as a result of what strong earnings that are emanating from the quoted companies. That supported dividend payout, and also as price were being changed, or we say repricing in the process because of positive macroeconomic data that is emanating also from the economy. That also impacted the market. And don't forget that the reform of this government started in 2023. And also, don't forget also that post-COVID-19, we saw our market rebounding from 11 years low. That trend has already for almost 6 years now. And if you look back to 2000, early our democracy, the market moved from that to 2000 to almost 2007, only also on a green trend. That trend is being repeated at this point. And I will tell you that what drive the market then in 2000 to 2007 was a result of reform and also improving macroeconomic data. This trend we are seeing now. After the market had rebounded from COVID-19, we now start seeing reform that started in 2023, and that reform also attracted more funds into the market, and also despite there was some rebases to work to make our macroeconomic data look better and also impressive, that also attract foreign flow. That are the things that supported the market in 2025. And as we speak now, those trends have not changed as we are crossing toward 2026. But if you look at also the activity that happened in this 2025, you see that some industries or some sectors also outperform each other, even as the market itself for 2025 have returned about 49.2%, for year to date. It speaks volume for the market. And as we speak, about 83 stocks on the exchange has beat this record. That means markets have recorded, like I said earlier, created wealth for investors because of what the market also are looking up for this period. But the good news is that the company that on the exchange has also performed from their Q1, Q2, Q3 numbers. This also what investors are looking at, and that also informed the pricing we saw in the market, because if the company earnings are strong, it's going to reflect on the price. Like I tell you that in the short run, whether earnings on the short run, the long run, price feed on what? On earnings. And these earnings are their positives in the market, it's going to drive price as far as we're seeing liquidity in the market. That's why when you're looking at market performance, look at what's also the money flow in the system. Where is money entering? And if you look at also the macro, like the interest rate, yes, in 2025, only once we saw a rate cut, but I will tell you that Nigeria corporate managers have also mastered how to navigate, headwinds anytime they are in that situation. And that is why even starting from, like I said, 2020, when there was a lot of headwinds, they were able to manage, and they posted corporate numbers that were positive, that impacted price. That trend continued because they mastered the system. Now that we are seeing positive numbers coming from the economy, I believe that this also going to part till the end of the year. We have less than 30 trading days to cross over to 2026, and this trend is likely to continue. But there want to be a strategic outlook for 2026 because of what being pre-election year and the kind of volume of money that is coming from the budget. Despite they're going to see a lot of budget deficit, about almost 15 trillion, which also kind of shake inflation. If we're going to do local raising of fund here, that means the rate going to go up. These are things that I say it's a strategic outlook for what that year, because we want to navigate between growth and uncertainties in 2026.
Okay,
for investors, you must pay attention to these numbers. Yeah.
I know you have a lot to say there, but let's just take it down a notch. We do know that the NGX hit several record highs, and that was in 2025. What would you say are the factors? You've mentioned a lot of things there, but what contributed to this surge we saw after that slow start of the year? And what does it say about investor sentiment, especially around the mid-year before that bounce off?
Like I said earlier, that you follow the money. What really attracted investors during this period, because when we see that our exchanges were relatively stable, then the companies on the exchange are easily planned and also forecast. That also helped them a lot to plan. And you are seeing that their numbers are increased, because most of them that posted loss when we had the volatility in exchanges, when there was a kind of unification of the naira and the exchange rate. That also, even when we devalue our naira, and also, all this as what is also attracted investment in the market, that stability that throws some sectors into red, while some are enjoying. But now I see that the consumer goods is part of another, let me say, the risk sector of the economy, as planned with this relative stability. Now their numbers are coming up, which I said price feed on this number, and they are seeing positive earnings. You can see it in trade dividend that came within the year 2025, and that also have signaled where these companies are going forward for the full year that will end at 31st December 2025. For me, these are the factors that drive them, especially the stable exchange rate. Yes, inflow from foreign investors coming to the net because of they are seeing positive macroeconomic data. These are the factors that lead the market. For you to see a market that is up for straight 7 months in a row, it that there are factors. I know that I mentioned that one is this relative exchange rate, one inflow from foreign investors, and also corporate earnings that was positive. These are the major factors that drove the market this 7 straight months before pulling back in the month of November. Which December, seasonality has also bring back market back almost to that level that he pulled back in November.
Okay, just very quickly, you mentioned corporate earnings as one of the factors that drove investor sentiment that pushed the NGX. We saw that surge to historic highs that we hit during the year and the course of the year. But should investors be cautious about valuation risk here in terms of how do we price the stocks? Or is the uptrend that we are seeing reflective of genuine fundamentals in the markets?
In any market, you look at the market P ratio over the market. As we speak, the Nigeria market P is below 15. Say that most of our stocks are still fairly priced. They are not overpriced at this point. It's only few of them I say that are overbought. For the market to have P ratio that is below 15, say that is a good sign for the market. But one thing that you know that in different sector, different companies, strong fundamentals, strong earnings will always support your repricing. But in this side of the world, you might say in mature economy where they say the fintech in mature economies is overpriced. But if you look at the Nigerian market, the sector of fintech Nigeria today is also grossly undervalued. But I see that because our market is generally undervalued, because companies on the exchange are performing well, we need to see what will happen in 2025. The pricing are taking place already, not now that we're speaking now. At that month when the market was running for almost 7 months, that is where the pricing took place. And that pricing, I said that because this company have posted strong second quarter, strong third quarter, we're looking for the full year. For me, they have reviewed the state of this company. That's why people are still having interest in the market, because the dividend in that market is still very volatile, above 6%. For me, it's a good one for the market. Our market is still in a good place. There's no time to panic. Rather, individuals of few selected stock might be overpriced, but I tell you, for the general market, it's still underpriced, fairly priced. And also, as investors, we target those companies that has good earnings capacity or good earning power that will drive their price at the end, because price feed on earnings, whether in the short term, or as I've said earlier in this program. Yeah.
The price does feed on earnings, Mr. Ambrose. But we'll take a moment here. Capital Market continues right after this break. Stay tuned.
As we begin the countdown to the end of 2025, Channels Television brings you the end-of-year review and a peep into 2026. This two-day event promises to be a thought-provoking exploration of Nigeria's landscape on December 30th, 2025. Guests: Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Dr. Taiwo Oyedele, Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa. Also joining us is Professor of Political Science, Jidiofo Adibe. Subject matter: security, politics, and the economy. The following day, December 31st, 2025, will focus on the judiciary, youth empowerment, and education. Conversation with two senior advocates of Nigeria, Yemi Candid Johnson and Wahab Shitu, and Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Here is a unique opportunity to reflect on the nation's progress and challenges, as Channels Television invites you to this insightful journey and charting the course for advancement. Join us for this significant and pivotal conversations, only on Channels Television, a network built on trust.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Capital Market Live on Channels Television, and we've been reviewing the performance of the NGX for 2025 and how much money you made this year. Mr. Ambrose Omodion, Chief Research Officer, is still with us in our Abuja studio. Mr. Ambrose, in the first half of 2025, we saw some stocks perform astronomically, I would just put it that way. Some of the stocks, if I mention, NCR, Better Glass, Honeywell Flour, initiated, delivered exceptional returns to investors. Were you watching out for these stocks? What are the common factors that, made these stocks just shoot up and, before anyone could even say jack?
No, actually, for those that are designing investors, at the beginning of the year, the peaks of stock for 2025, like in Invest Data, how we call a 10 golden stock for 2025, which will beat even the market performance of your 49%. Most of before this period now, at about 100% in that 10 golden stock were picked. I'm not surprised seeing all this stuff, because I said earlier that where money is flowing is very, very important. We saw factors that attracted liquidity into the equity space. That's reflected on the price. And also, as I said earlier, company performance was also, because I tell you, every investor in Nigeria is looking for value and where they can be. But there are some stuff that without what we call them, some investors that don't have value, but because of momentum investing that come from different reasons, one use or the other, we saw them rally. But for those that rally, like you mentioned, NCR returning about 143, 1,144 just in less than a year. That is automatically, for me, it's a good one. But you can see that, I said earlier that about 83 stocks beat market performance with NGX. That, as we speak now, is about 49.2. And I see that if I take from that, means about 83 stocks were above that. For me, it's still to see 1,337 for a stock, in a year. That is, that investors that are put in that stock are smart to the bank, even, jumping and also dancing because they have made money in the market. And this is the beauty of what equity market. Yeah, there are some risks that come with the equity market, but if you can invest wisely, go to this value before they start moving, target this stock and also bring petroleum at the beginning of the rally, we're going to make money. So stock that has value, high cap stock, both low cap stock, also delivered. If you look at the index generally, that the growth cap stocks return about 253% year to date, followed by the consumer goods about 125% year to date. For all this, only the oil and gas that recorded about 1.03% year to date. It tells you that the market is good, as we have said earlier in the program. For me, this is how investors should prepare for 2026. But the up market today that you are seeing that stock at 21, it's not guaranteed that you're going to see the same thing in 2026. But for you to navigate intelligently in 2026, you must have knowledge of the market, invest in value, go for fundamental stock at this point as we're entering the new year. And also, because also government policy supported the market in 2025, we expect that, yes, as we expect to see about 58.2 trillion budget, and also we expect to see corporate earnings coming in the first half of the year. This I think that I said 2026 is a strategic outlook that we must navigate between growth and uncertainties for you to make that happen. Because what has become now has happened is a past, because past performance is never a guarantee of future. That means you must understand the factor that drove the market this year and see also those factors that also drive the market in 2026 and navigate the market intelligently. But being pre-election year, I'll tell you that yes, there's going to be a lot of volatility. Yes, in that year, but that volatility is also what creates word for word for design investor and smart traders to buy low and sell high. That means even if you are bringing all the factors that will drive the market in 2026, you must know that when to buy, the right time to buy into the right stock, and also when to exit. In the market to make money, when you buy low, you sell high, and that is the beauty of a stock market anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so to what extent is it going to be driven by speculation or, say, speculative interest in the stocks, or, say, fundamentals driving these buys you're mentioning?
No. Are you talking about buy in 2026 or buy already? The year is already winding down 2020. No,
I'm talking about the stocks that we are looking at in 2025, looking into 2026. Are they going to be more speculations or fundamentals driving the buy interest we'll be seeing?
No, for me, what to drive the buying in 2026 should be what? Should be fundamental first. Then news, speculation is part of any market in the world. When it comes, join that rally and come out board. Go into fundamental stocks so that you can protect also your investment, your capital. Because when you buy into value, you are not rushing. When it comes, you make money. But when you are speculating without strong fundamentals, so you might get your finger burned. But I know that, yes, equity markets come with high risk. But when you take calculated risk to buy into value at the right time, you make money. But when you also speculate, because news can come, news of we saw what happened in the insurance company when the capitalization news came to the market, most of them give about 200% in less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks. For me, that kind of market also happen when news start coming, flying, but always position and interpret those government policies, news that will drive those stocks when they come board. Don't invest just on news alone. News can tell you the story, but always look at fundamental, so that when news come, news will meet you in a good stock that also create wealth for you, where you can make capital appreciation and also support your dividend at the end of the day.
Okay, so we did see MTN Nigeria and some other high cap stocks perform really well in 2025. How can investors, say, balance exposure between high growth, mid, small caps, and the large caps that are already steady performers? How can investors balance this and not get their fingers burnt?
In any market, you have high cap stocks, you have the growth stock, you have also defensive stock. In any market, you have different categories of stocks. But for me, if you are preparing for 2026, you want to look at those companies that have fundamental, even though they are good stock, they are defensive stock, that also will create wealth for you. You mentioned MTN. MTN, we know that MTN has a lot of strong fundamentals that will support the world. Their price going to the future because it's earnings that price to feed on. Don't forget that when there was exchange unification or exchange rate were put together to just have one exchange rate, we saw how most of the companies on the exchange was thrown into red. But now with stability, we are seeing them coming back again. But MTN would have learned from what happened and also reposition their operation for a better kind of resistance if such thing happen again. But with their coming back, don't forget that anywhere in the world where there's price increase in a sector or in any company, it has the way of impacting positively on their number. Recently, during the year, we saw almost a 50% increase in tariff. That also has supported them advancing powerfully that their negative shareholder have turned positive, and also able to reward a shareholder with 5 naira and 3 dividend, pointing that at the end of the year may likely do 10 naira or 15 naira. If that happens, so that MTN is fully back to profitability. But I tell you, for what has happened, they've learned for that 2 years that they have to struggle with the unification of exchange. That has affected the operation. But now also they are relying on what we call facility, competition from all the industry, like using the same infrastructure to run their business. That also relieve their cost of operation. I believe that MTN, being in an environment or in a sector where digital economy is being centered in Nigeria, and if you want to drive digital economy, you need data, you need telecommunication companies, and that there's a lot of business for MTN, Glo, and also Airtel and others. But I believe that MTN has potential to create wealth for investors. That means any pullback in MTN, as we speak now, it's a plus for it's a plus for me, for those that also are looking to buy into value and take position. That don't say that it's above 500 naira. 500 naira is still good for you to enter if you want to buy for value, because they can pay dividend and also price appreciation can come. And don't forget that tomorrow you might hear they want to do private market activities, price can go higher. For me, as I said, as you are buying to 2026, buy to value, other news can come and also create wealth for you in that good value stock or fundamentally sound stock.
Okay, Ambrose. We know that talking about dividend, a lot of investors do love that, cashing out at the end of the quarter, So how do, let us sector rotation, how do investors know how to rotate stocks around sectors to be able to profit from it and not possibly buy into an overbought stock?
No, actually, for those that really want to make money at this season, as you said, dividend period, don't forget that, looking at exchange, about 80 to 85% of stock related at December as year end. And that means, from the first quarter of 2026, we're entering what we call earning peak, where a peak when many companies release their corporate action. But now that we are almost approaching the end of the year, and in January we've seen unaudited accounts hitting the market, this is the time to look at which sector that you have, you are. Okay, whose stocks have rallied, have gone out into a new futures high. Okay, where that pullback, also the fundamental is very strong, and also dividend is also attractive. You buy into them because you see also the history of those companies that pay dividend every year. Those that have policy of dividend equalization. Those that whenever they increase their earnings, they also increase their payout. And also you look at company, what we call a payout ratio, the history. Out of their earnings, what do they pay out as dividend? That also help you to where you should repeat your trend as you are going to there for dividend income. But I know that within the first quarter of 2026, more companies will and the dividend will become a corporate action. That also impact their price. But for those that are looking for dividend income, you must see company that has consistent for straight 5 years that pay dividend, and also you have seen what they pay out from their earnings, seen their third quarter result already, or seeing their also unaudited account in January will give you more information where you should be. But for me, I believe that investments are again the future. Now that we have seen the third quarter, this is the right time as the year is winding down to position for that dividend income or dividend stock that will be coming in 2026, the first quarter.
Definitely, Mr. Ambrose. Investors will be looking out for the lessons learned in 2025 and taking that into 2026 to be able to position well and definitely make returns from their investments. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambrose Omodion, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. Many thanks for your time this evening, and do have yourself a lovely holiday.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on this edition of Capital Markets. Remember, whether the markets are bullish or bearish, knowledge is always your best investment. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep growing your financial savvy. You can catch this again on our YouTube channel. I'm Will Ibong. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.